Antarctica looks like a lifeless, icy wasteland, but that is only an illusion. Under kilometers of ice, there are finds that baffle scientists, frighten them, and force them to rethink everything we know about this continent. Here they find ancient ships, traces of vanished worlds, strange life forms, and things that seem like they should not exist in such a place. Today, we will talk about 20 of the strangest finds in Antarctica, discoveries that still do not let scientists rest and make you wonder what is really hidden under the ice. Under the Antarctic ice sheet, not only ice is hidden, but entire mountain systems. One of them is a massive mountain range in East Antarctica, stretching for about 750 miles and reaching a height of about 9,000 feet. Despite such size, these mountains are completely buried under a layer of ice up to 2,000 feet thick and remain invisible from the surface. This range is known as the Gamburtsev Mountains, named in honor of the Soviet geophysicist Grigory Gamburtsev. Interest in this region sharply increased after, in 2016, photographs were published in which one of the peaks had the shape of an almost perfect pyramid. The images quickly spread across the internet and became a povid for heated speculation. Versions appeared about ancient civilizations, mysterious structures, and, of course, about the extraterrestrial origin of the object. However, subsequent research using precise geophysical methods showed that there is no man-made structure there. The pyramidal shape turned out to be the result of natural erosion and terrain features. It is only a mountain summit protruding from under snow and ice. Nevertheless, the very possibility that entire mountain worlds are hidden under Antarctic ice continues to stir the imagination and reminds us how much unknown this continent still conceals. Antarctica is not just an ice shield kilometers thick. Under snow and ice, there is a full-fledged continent with mountains, plains, and a complex geological history. And thanks to modern technologies, scientists have finally gained the ability to look under this icy obolochka. A group of researchers from Kiel University in Germany, together with the British Antarctic Survey, analyzed data obtained from the GO-CE satellite of the European Space Agency. This apparatus used measurements of Earth's gravitational field, making it possible to determine the shape of the surface hidden under the ice. The results were astonishing. Scientists discovered structures under Antarctica that they conditionally called lost continents. This refers to ancient fragments of Earth's crust, complex tectonic plates, and cratons, stable cores of continents formed billions of years ago. These structures are embryonic mountain systems that never reached the surface because of subsequent glaciation. The obtained data help to understand how exactly Antarctica was formed, what role it played in the breakup of ancient supercontinents, and how it will change in the future as the ice cover melts. It turned out that under the coldest place on the planet, there is a complex and ancient geological mosaic whose history goes deep into time long before the appearance of ice. This is exactly what makes Antarctica truly unique. Under its silent, icy surface, an entire world is hidden, ancient, complex, and not fully studied. And apparently, the biggest discoveries on this continent are still ahead. Antarctica is considered one of the best places on Earth to search for meteorites, and scientists regularly find here cosmic objects that have lain in the ice for thousands of years. During one such expedition, researchers worked in the area of the so-called Niels Larsen Blue Ice, not far from Princess Elizabeth Station. It was there that they managed to discover one of the largest meteorites ever found on this continent. The stone turned out to be about the size of a melon and weighed about 16.7 pounds. In addition to this massive specimen, in the same area, 4 more meteorites were found, which, according to specialists' estimates, had been there for several thousand years. In total, during research in Antarctica, about 45,000 meteorites have been found. The white surface of the ice makes dark cosmic stones clearly visible, and the cold and dry climate contributes to their excellent preservation. However, finds of such weight remain rare. Only about 100 meteorites out of all those found in Antarctica can be called truly heavy. That is why this object immediately attracted special attention from scientists. It became another reminder that the icy continent keeps not only earthly secrets, but also traces of distant cosmic events. Until 2018, humanity did not even suspect the existence of one of the largest penguin colonies on the planet. About 1.5 million birds for thousands of years calmly lived in one of the most remote and dangerous areas of Antarctica, remaining completely out of sight of people. The colony was discovered by accident when scientists analyzed satellite images of an extremely hard-to-reach stretch of land surrounded by dense sea ice. This area bears a telling name: the Dangerous Islands. It turned out that penguins had lived there for almost 3,000 years. To notice signs of their presence, it required the use of a special algorithm developed by NASA, which was able to recognize characteristic traces of жизнедеятельность in satellite images. Because of harsh conditions and difficult access, researchers for a long time did not even consider this area as a possible habitat for animals. We are talking about one of the smallest species of penguins living in Antarctica. Adults grow to about 70 centimeters in height. They live in large colonies and feed on krill, fish, and squid. This find became a reminder that even in the most studied regions of the planet, there can still be discoveries that can surprise scientists. Under the ice shield of Antarctica, enormous tunnels were discovered, the dimensions of which amaze the imagination. In some places, their height reaches hundreds of meters and is comparable to the height of the Eiffel Tower. These structures were first recorded using radar systems installed on aircraft flying over the continent, and then confirmed by satellite images. In the images, it became clear that under the ice, there are extended cavities and channels. Naturally, versions immediately appeared about secret bases, ancient structures, and even underground civilizations. However, the scientific explanation turned out to be much more prosaic. These tunnels are a natural formation. They are formed by flows of meltwater, which moves under the ice cover, eroding the ice and carving a path for itself to the ocean. Essentially, these are subglacial rivers that work by the same laws as ordinary ones, only instead of rock and soil, they разрушают ice. Despite the absence of mysticism, the very scale of these tunnels remains impressive. They clearly show how active and powerful processes occur under Antarctic ice and how little we actually know about what is hidden under the surface of this continent. And this is only the first find on our list. In the cold waters surrounding Antarctica, there are creatures that look as if they came from a science fiction film. We are talking about giant sea spiders, which for more than 100 years have attracted the attention of scientists. Unlike their small relatives, these creatures reach impressive sizes. The span of their legs can reach 50 centimeters, which makes them among the largest representatives of their kind on the planet. Their method of reproduction is considered especially unusual. Most sea spiders carry eggs on their body until the moment the offspring appear. However, Antarctic giants use a different strategy. They attach eggs to the seafloor, where they develop in relative safety. Scientists believe that such a method allows a greater number of offspring to survive in the harsh conditions of the Southern Ocean. The reason for such sizes is linked to a phenomenon known as polar gigantism. In extremely cold waters with a high oxygen content, some species grow significantly larger than their relatives from warmer regions. Giant sea spiders do not pose a danger to humans, but the very realization that such creatures inhabit the icy depths of Antarctica once again emphasizes how far this continent is from ideas of emptiness and lifelessness. Despite the fact that Antarctica is associated прежде всего with ice and snow, on this continent there are areas where there is almost no ice. These places are known as the dry valleys and are considered some of the most unusual landscapes on Earth. Here, there is practically no precipitation. The surface is covered with stones and dust, and the ice cover is either completely absent or occurs only in the form of individual frozen lakes. The dry valleys occupy an area of more than 1,000 square miles and are characterized by consistently low temperatures. Even in the summer period, there is almost no liquid water here, except for rare short streams that connect lakes with glaciers. Because of constant cold and strong winds, large amounts of salt accumulate in this area, which makes conditions even harsher for life. By their characteristics, the dry valleys resemble the surface of Mars more than familiar earthly landscapes. That is why scientists actively use this region to study extreme conditions and model possible life on other planets. These valleys clearly show that Antarctica is not only ice, but also one of the strangest and most inhospitable corners of Earth. Antarctic icebergs contain huge reserves of fresh water and play a crucial role in maintaining the planet's climate. But sometimes they surprise not only with their size, but also with their appearance. In rare cases, icebergs turn out to be covered with bright-colored stripes: blue, green, brown, and even almost black. These patterns look so unusual that they seem like the result of someone's work, although in fact, they have a completely natural origin. Blue stripes form when a crack appears within the thickness of the ice, which fills with water and quickly freezes without air bubbles. Such ice becomes denser and acquires a rich blue tonic. Green stripes appear differently. When an iceberg breaks off from a glacier and comes into contact with seawater rich in microalgae, this layer over time freezes into the ice. If the iceberg flips over, green tenki end up on the surface. Brown, yellow, and black stripes arise because of sediments and rocks that the iceberg captures as it moves toward the ocean. Most of these colored layers are hidden underwater, and only a small part becomes visible above the surface. That is why such icebergs are rare and each time cause genuine amazement among researchers and sailors. Scientists discovered that Antarctic ice shelves are capable of producing sounds. We are not talking about music in the usual sense, but about low-frequency vibrations that are recorded by special seismic sensors. These sounds have a frequency of about 5 Hz and are practically inaudible to the human ear. However, instruments register them as an almost continuous hum that repeats with a certain periodicity. The character of this singing changes depending on external conditions. Storms, strong winds, the movement of ocean waves, and processes of ice melting directly affect the intensity and rhythm of the sounds. Scientists believe that the cause of the phenomenon is the oscillations of ice masses in their interaction with the ocean and the atmosphere. Although there is a scientific explanation for this phenomenon, the very idea that the ogromny lediny fields of Antarctica emit drawn-out and almost ghostly sounds makes a strong impression. In conditions of complete polar silence, such singing is easily perceived as something ominous, and once again emphasizes how unusual this continent is. Mount Erebus is the second highest volcano in Antarctica, but at the same time, it remains the highest active volcano on the entire continent. It is located on Ross Island, and for many years has been of special interest to scientists. The main reason is a rare natural phenomenon. Inside the crater of Erebus, there is a permanently existing lava lake. There are only a handful of such places on Earth. From time to time, the volcano ejects portions of red-hot lava, reminding that even among the ice and cold of Antarctica, Earth remains geologically alive. This volcano differs from most others. Its magma contains extremely little water, but is rich in carbon dioxide. That is why lava can rise closer to the surface without powerful explosions. Such dry volcanoes are rare, and significantly less is known about them than about classic volcanoes with watery magma. In recent years, many studies have been conducted on Erebus, allowing data to be collected about processes occurring deep underground. Scientists established that it is precisely the high concentration of water in magma that makes many volcanoes especially dangerous. When water suddenly boils, this can lead to powerful explosive eruptions, similar to the catastrophe at Mount St. Helens in 1980. Erebus in this regard is less explosively dangerous, but its permanent lava lake existing in the middle of an icy continent looks almost unreal and emphasizes the contrast between fire and ice, for which Antarctica is so famous. The depths of the ocean still remain one of the least studied areas of the planet, and in combination with the extreme conditions of Antarctica, they become a real mystery for science. It is precisely here, under the ice of the Weddell Sea, that scientists discovered an astonishing find: a giant colony of icefish. Under the thickness of ice, there turned out to be a breeding site in which about 60 million individuals live. These fish not only survive in icy water, but actively reproduce and form a stable ecosystem. No one knew about the existence of this colony until recently. Only around 2022 did it become clear that under Antarctic ice, a biological system is hidden, the area of which is comparable to the territory of Malta. The fish that make up this colony have extremely unusual features. They have Prosrachnia blood and semi-transparent skulls, which looks almost fantastical. However, it is precisely these traits that help them survive in conditions of extreme cold. Their blood contains a special protein that acts like a natural antifreeze. It prevents the formation of ice crystals inside the organism, allowing the fish to exist in water with a temperature below the freezing point. This discovery became a serious reminder that even in the harshest conditions on Earth, complex and mastabni forms of life can be hidden, the existence of which we, for a long time, did not even suspect. Lake Vostok is one of the most mysterious places on the entire planet. This is a giant subglacial body of water hidden under the thickness of Antarctic ice at a depth of more than 4 kilometers. It is located directly under the Russian research station Vostok and is considered one of the largest subglacial lakes known to science. For millions of years, this place was completely isolated from the outside world, which makes it a unique natural laboratory. Temperatures in this area are considered among the lowest on Earth. It was precisely here that the absolute cold record was recorded. On the 21st of July, 1983, the temperature dropped to minus 89.2 degrees Celsius. At first glance, it seems impossible that under such conditions, liquid water can exist under the ice. However, the combination of geothermal heat and the colossal pressure of the ice sheet lowers the freezing point of water and creates a kind of thermal insulation. The most astonishing thing is that in samples of ice extracted above the lake, scientists found traces of life. Analysis showed the presence of thousands of different DNA sequences, including bacteria, archaea, and eukaryotes. Some of them did not match any organism known to science. This gave rise to many hypotheses about the existence of unique life forms that could have developed in complete darkness and isolation for millions of years. Lake Vostok remains one of the most intriguing objects of Antarctica and still keeps many secrets. In 2022, scientists made one of the most anticipated discoveries in the history of polar research. On the bottom of the Weddell Sea, the legendary ship Endurance was found, belonging to the explorer Ernest Shackleton. The vessel sank back in 1915 after it was crushed by Antarctic ice during a dramatic expedition. For more than 100 years, the exact place of its loss remained unknown. Shackleton's expedition is considered one of the most heroic in the history of the exploration of Antarctica. The ship ended up pinned by ice, was destroyed, and went to the bottom. But Shackleton himself and his entire crew managed to survive, overcoming huge distances over ice and ocean in small boats and on foot. When researchers finally discovered the vessel, they were struck by its condition. Thanks to icy water and the absence of organisms that Razrusha would, the ship has been preserved almost perfectly. The hull of Endurance stands vertically on the seafloor. Many details look as if the vessel sank quite recently. Although the ship is inhabited by marine organisms, it avoided the razrushenia typical of most old shipwrecks. This find became a true window into the era of great geographical discoveries, and once again reminded how harsh and merciless Antarctica can be. Today, Antarctica seems like an endless icy wasteland, but in the distant past it looked completely different. About 90 million years ago, this continent was covered with dense forests and resembled a warm, humid region full of life. In the Cretaceous period, the level of the world ocean was significantly higher than the modern one, and the temperature in a number of regions of the planet reached values at which tropical ecosystems could spokojno exist on the territory of Antarctica. Scientists received confirmation of this in 2017 when a sediment core was extracted from under the ice in the area of the Pine Island Glacier. One of its layers sharply differed in color and structure from the others. Detailed analysis showed that it consists of soil, plant roots, pollen, and spores characteristic of an ancient forest. This became direct evidence that real forest massifs once grew here. This find made it possible to look in a new way at Earth's climatic past and at the evolution of Antarctica itself. The continent turned out to be a kind of time capsule that preserved traces of a world that disappeared long before the appearance of humans and completely changed under the influence of global climatic processes. In Antarctica, a find was made that for a long time remained a mystery even for specialists. A huge object discovered back at the beginning of the 2010s. For almost 10 years, it was not possible to tochno identify. It had an unusual shape, resembled a deflated ball, and was not similar to any known fossil. Scientists even gave it a temporary name, the Thing, because they could not determine its origin. Only in 2020 did researchers manage to establish that in front of them was the egg of an ancient reptile that lived about 68 million years ago. Its size is astonishing, about 11 by 7 inches, which makes it the largest egg of this type ever found. The obolochka of the egg turned out to be soft, like in modern lizards and snakes, and not hard, like in dinosaurs, which immediately ruled out several versions. The size of the find made it possible to assume that the creature that laid this egg reached a length of at least 7 meters. The most likely candidate is considered to be a marine reptile, a mosasaur. However, it was not possible to establish the exact prinaдлежность to the end. This find showed that the waters of ancient Antarctica were home to truly giant creatures, traces of which are only now beginning to come to the surface. At the northern tip of the Antarctic Peninsula, scientists from the National Scientific and Technical Research Council of Argentina made a find that became a real sensation. During field work, large bones began to appear from the rock, and довольно quickly it became clear that these were not random fragments. Before the researchers was an almost complete skeleton of an ancient marine predator, a plesiosaur. These reptiles with a long neck lived in the oceans back in the age of dinosaurs and existed about 200 million years ago, and then spread widely in the Jurassic period. Previously, in Antarctica, only separate and comparatively small fragments of such creatures were found, but this specimen turned out to be the largest and oldest of all found on the continent. Special surprise was caused by the fact that the geological rocks of this region for a long time were considered unsuitable for the preservation of bones. The find completely refuted this opinion and showed that Antarctic land is capable of storing a rich paleontological heritage. The discovery of the plesiosaur skeleton became a serious stimulus for further searches. Scientists concluded that in ancient times, the waters around Antarctica were populated by large marine predators, and the continent itself played a much more important role in past ecosystems than was previously believed. This find opened a new page in the study of prehistoric Antarctica, and gave hope for even louder discoveries. Sometimes on the surface of Antarctic sea ice, something appears that looks truly strange and disturbing, a huge hole in the middle of a solid ice cover. In 2016 and 2017, scientists recorded the appearance of exactly such a formation in the Weddell Sea. The size of the opening was colossal, and it persisted for a long time, which immediately attracted the attention of researchers from all over the world. Such phenomena were observed earlier as well, back several decades ago, but only in recent years has science gained tools allowing what is happening to be studied in detail. For analysis, satellite images, autonomous drifting buoys, underwater sensors, and also seals equipped with special sensors were used, which transmitted data about the temperature and salinity of the water under the ice. As a result, scientists concluded that such holes can arise because of a combination of several factors. Among them are unusual ocean currents, the padyam of warmer water from depth, as well as powerful atmospheric phenomena. In some periods over this area, storms formed with winds comparable in strength to hurricanes. All of this together could lead to the destruction of ice and the formation of giant polynyas. Although today this phenomenon has a scientific explanation, the very sight of a huge black hole in the middle of an icy wasteland remains frightening. It clearly shows how dynamic and unstable the Antarctic environment can be, even where everything seems frozen and unchanging. In Antarctica, there exists a place that looks as if the ice itself is bleeding. It is known as Blood Falls and is located at the edge of the Taylor Glacier in the McMurdo Dry Valleys. A bright red liquid bursts prama from the thickness of the ice and sharply contrasts with the surrounding white landscape, creating a truly ominous spectacle. When this phenomenon was first discovered in 1911, the Australian geologist Griffith Taylor suggested that the unusual color was connected with algae. However, later it turned out that the cause is much more prosaic and at the same time no less astonishing. The water coming out of the glacier is an extremely salty brine nasiciony with iron. When this liquid comes into contact with air, the iron oxidizes, and the water acquires a characteristic cravavo-red autenic, similar to rust. Research showed that this brine has a marine origin and passed a long path under the ice, interacting with rock. Despite the extreme conditions, microorganisms were found in this environment capable of surviving without sunlight and oxygen. Blood Falls became another proof that even in the harshest corners of Antarctica, life finds ways to exist, albeit in the most unexpected forms. The deeper scientists look under the surface, the clearer it becomes. This continent still keeps many secrets. Which of these finds impressed you the most? Write in the comments and do not forget to watch other videos on the channel.